Okay. Let's see how this works out. Little change of scenery. I switched positions around in the room, make it easier to control the light. Okay. The reason I decided to do the northwest gate last is because I already have some recent lore attached to it. I did a video around 11 months ago, well, 10 months ago, 11 months ago, called Starting the Campaign, that explains the events surrounding the re-establishment of this gate in this part of the border. One moment. I've put a link to it in the description below. I just get you up to speed on what happened there, but I will touch on it a little bit today. Another point of note. I only realized while writing this that I never mentioned the name of the Elven-ruled Sovereign Council city on the east, on the on the coast in my last video when they traveled directly west. It's called Port Satama. All right. So, 2 years before our current mission, when the gates in the Mancio were being reconstructed and when the ancient borders were being re-established for the first time, it was discovered there was a community of halflings that had quite recently began building homes and clearing small patches of forest to accommodate their fields within view, inside the walls, and within view of the Northwest Gate. When approached peaceably by the expeditionary force that was sent to this area, the group of about 100 elder men and women, young mothers and children, told of being driven out of their previous homelands by raiding gnolls. And they fled until they found at least partial protection of the old stone walls and the ruins they came across in this place. It took several discussions and promises to allay the worries of these halflings as to the nature and intention of the goblins and kobolds they spoke to. Eventually, they became the 19th officially recognized settlement in the nation of Texta, and the first such outside of the mountain itself. They called it Hilkeston, naming it for their eldest grandmother and first official Gwen, Hilkis Cinderdancer. Now, the people of Hilkeston live their lives, ply their trades, and raise their children as proud Textans, under the same suite of law that governs all the rest. Many of them are present and giving advice and drawing maps for the explorer, diplomat, merchant band that prepares to discover and record what lies beyond the safety of their homeland. As with the rest of these expeditionary parties, they carry letters of marque and introduction, official documents that at least look official to anybody else. And they have a wagon full of provision, and it's drawn by a pair of goats. These, however, are a little more wary than the rest. and more heavily armed. Even as the gate was being restored, a group of gnolls had attempted an attack. However, this was repelled by the troop of 6 soldiers who attended this gate and its mancio only 2 years ago. The gate opens to scrub plains and unfertile, hard ground stretching into the distance. There is no cover for approaching enemies to hide behind, but also no cover for our adventurers if they are attacked. A month of travel brings them to patchy grasslands, site of a forest far to the north, and mountains on the horizon in that direction. They see very few animals of any kind and hear fewer as they continue. At 3 months into the journey, they find the abandoned source of the Hilkistan peoples. Due to the nature of halfling construction, these hollow hills are not the least ruinous. They provide an excellent place to camp with some degree of defense. Any tools or farming implements here had been destroyed, and what had once been garden fields have been torn and gleaned. There is nothing left. There's nothing left. These fields have fallowed long ago, 2 years ago. They find nothing to forage. They solely rely on their provisions. After recording all of what little they encounter, our band continues northwest. So within a few days, they start finding occasional skeletal remains. Gnolls, halflings, humans, or possibly elves, their bones being too similar to tell apart easily. Orcs, dwarves. Another few days and several skeletons later, they see a hyena some distance away. They watch as it sniffs along the ground until it finds a skeleton. It then calls out, drawing others of its kind to its aid. They retrieve the bones, carrying as many as they can, and dart off, paying no attention at all to the travelers. Camping that night, our band sets an armed watch and sleeps lightly, but they're not attacked. This pattern repeats itself several more times in the ensuing days, becoming more frequent and closer to them every time. At one point, the hyenas are seen digging into a large anthill and licking up the tiny insects as a group, again ignoring the presence of the passing Textans. It's an unnerving time, no doubt, but the explorers remain unmolested. After another week, the travelers notice lone hyenas watching them from a few hundred yards away. Not attacking, not growling. Neither are they trying to remain hidden. They're openly watching their progress, tracking the explorers. It's at the 4-month mark along their path, our band finds a large round hut covered in hides on a patch of ground where the grass has been trampled flat. Several hyena surround the area and begin growling and baring their teeth. A single bark coming from within the hut silences the animals, and they slink away with their heads lowered. Shortly, the travelers are bid enter in the common tongue, which is a second language at best to any Texans. Within the hut, they find a lone knoll, a little older. Lying on her side, she's nursing 2 baby gnolls and 3 hyena cubs. This last matriarch of her pack is peaceable, though direct. She is succinct and tactless in her mannerisms. The explorers, for their part, tell of their mission, their intentions. They mention trade, mapping, diplomacy. The gnoll shows no interest in such things. Instead, she idly explains the natural cycle of her people and society. When and why raids happen. All gnolls, as it turns out, are female. The hyena are the male of their species. But gnolls look masculine by the standards of other races. She tells them it'll be at least a couple hundred years, several generations of growth before their population outstrips their resources again and they're forced to start raiding. When raids happen, it's out of desperation and hunger. Many gnolls are killed during these raids, many more starve to death. The few that remain separate. She is the oldest, so she stayed here. This became her territory. The rest of her sisters scattered with a few males each to claim new territories unless they're killed by whoever or whatever already lives there. This, she explains, is their natural order. She'll have her pack scavenge what remains here until the animals return and they can hunt again. She assures her pack will not attack unless they are attacked. So, our travelers, our explorers, are safe. Her territory has become much smaller over the past 2 years, since the few hyenas she has at hand can only patrol so much ground. This hut stands at the center of her circle of influence. After this tense but successful meeting and accord, our explorers continue their journey. It takes 1 more month to reach the far edge of the Gnoll territory, passing ruined farmsteads, empty villages, and the bones of the dead the whole time. The territory ends at the tree line of a dense ancient woodland. The Gnoll matriarch, who didn't even give a name, had only informed them that the woods were too difficult to hold territory in, and that they are already occupied by someone else. They find a clearly visible path into the forest, seemingly cut and cleared regularly. Within another week, they begin to see coppiced and pollarded trees along the roadsides and occasional wattle fences enclosing a handful of sheep a little further off the road. Eventually, they encounter people, walking, pulling handcarts, riding horses, or in ox-drawn wagons. They're either coming from further up the road or entering the road from smaller paths on one side or the other, and going in the same direction as our explorers. All manner and all size of people, various races, species, some with empty wagons and carts and some carrying produce or livestock. As the situation becomes a little more crowded and a little hectic, we find ourselves entering an actual town. They hear what they believe might be a dozen languages being spoken. They see an open market of stalls in a rustic town square. They see all manner of businesses with open shop fronts along the streets and hawkers selling their wares, food and drink from hand carts. It's not difficult for them to find someone speaking a language they know well. So they ask what this place is and who might be in charge. It's shortly discovered that this is an independent settlement of people who refused the authority of someone called the Intendant and a sovereign council from a city called Port Satama, some distance south and along the coast. As a result of their shared disdain for the laws and leaders of that place, they simply all left and founded this place. About 20 years ago, they call the town and its surrounding woodlands and farmsteads Silky Freehold. The government here turns out to be as newish and ramshackle and rustic as many of the buildings are. Whichever of a half dozen or so founding members has time during the day will spend an hour or two in a shared office that they built and either settle disputes between people, decide to agree or disagree on whatever land claim or building proposal or civic suggestion someone might have. There's always one or two pieces of business to deal with in any given day. The rules of the place are equally lax. If you want a piece of land to build or farm on, just make sure no one else has claimed it first, and let the shared office know about it before you start building anything. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, and don't hurt or kill anyone unless it's in self-defense. It's a pretty simple set of rules. Knowledge in hand, our intrepid band follows what little direction they can gain and head for the shared office. They find a stout human in a butcher's apron, sitting behind a well-aged but decently constructed desk, wearing spectacles and reading over a handful of papers. On the other side of the desk, a gnomish woman rattles on with complaints about the sizes of the buckets in different wells needing to be standardized, so she won't have to change which buckets she uses to bring water home when she goes to a different well. After the gnome leaves, still muttering of her complaints, the party enters and introduces themselves. The fellow behind the desk is a Mr. Turistaya. After hearing news of Texta and the offer of trade and diplomacy, the hefty man giggles. He says it's preferable to avoid anything as formal as a treaty or as official as a trade agreement. He suggests that if they have something to sell, anyone is welcome to come here and sell it. If anyone needs anything and it can be found here, they're welcome to just come here and buy it. He also tells them that there's a cartographer behind the smithy about 5 doors down if they turn left on the way out. And that she should be able to sell them maps of the local area. She apparently does all the official maps for land claims, so she knows where everything is and where all the roads go. Again, following given directions, our band finds Miss Carta, her establishment. The noise of the blacksmith shop next door forces all present to raise their voices. But the dragonborn cartographer welcomes the visitors to town. She says she has copies of all her maps ready for sale, and lets them know that she's willing to buy any maps that they have of lands beyond what she knows in trade. The deal being struck, all present begin making copies of the explorers' maps and continue to do so late into the evening. After a night of camping in their wagon on the roadside, the adventurers reprovision themselves from the town market. They bid their new friends farewell and begin their long journey home. Now, I don't think this part of the map would make a good campaign. It'd make a good shopping session. There's no real reason for any combat. There are parts of the map that might be really fun for interactions. It might make, it would make for a good shopping session in Silky Freehold, but that's about it, really. Now, that does complete our map of the lands surrounding Texta in 8 compass directions. Now I just have to either draw the map myself, which would suck because I'm terrible at it, or pay someone else to do it for me. Seems like even when you're paying for work, most artists I've dealt with aren't the most reliable with things like schedules and instruction and taking directions. So I have no clue when things might be finished. Anyway, I'm wondering what I'll come up with for next week's video. I'm perfectly willing to take any suggestions you have. I'll answer any questions about the world or any of the people in it. If anybody's interested in the job of making maps or of illustrating anything, like in the highly unlikely event that this becomes a book, I want it to be, but it's highly unlikely, I'm willing to pay somebody to illustrate it. Either direct payment, one shot, payment per page of illustration, or a profit share and a split on the royalties for sales. I don't know. But if anybody's interested, there's an email on my YouTube page. So, like always, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.